Hi everyone, I am Kamal Kumar and presently I am heading analytics for Myntra. Before this, I was head of analytics for Tata Click, and I have had several stints with e-commerce firms leading and establishing their analytics practice and their growth hacking practices. It has been a really fun and learning journey so far. Today, I am here to speak about a topic which is very close to my heart, which is around building trust in AI and analytics. How many times have we been into a meeting where someone says that this data looks incorrect? All of us know how much wastage of time that is, and it causes a lot of frustration for the stakeholders and for the people working in the analytics function. Similarly, for AI and ML algorithms, especially, I have seen in the past that a lot of times, for example, the search rankings and the widgets on the home page, which are generally powered through an ML algorithm in an e-commerce scenario, someone will come and say that this ranking is not looking right, and why can't you go back and check? And it ends up taking a lot of bandwidth of the DS teams, of the product managers, and again, like it causes frustration for everyone involved in the process. What I have learned in the past is that there is a very simple solution to all of these problems, which is having a really good governance matrix and making that matrix available in real time and ensuring that there is anomaly detection modules running in the background so that if there is something bad which happens, or if the population stability index changes a lot, those things are thrown off as escalations, and it is not dependent on manual catching of errors, etc., which helps in building the trust overall in the AI and analytics programs. So I have put together a small deck to take you through how you can get onto a journey of building trust into your AI and analytics practice. So if I had to summarize myself into one sentence, it would be: how do you combine data engineering principles with advanced analytics and strong KPI governance to create self-service products and business applications that will drive trust and adoption of AI and analytics assets? In today's environment, not having trust into AI and analytics assets is non-negotiable, because if the trust is not there, the adoption won't be there, and you won't realize the ROI of the investments behind analytics and AI. And over the last 5 to 6 years, what has happened is that analytics and AI has grown at a unprecedented speed. And with that, a lot of software best practices were not followed. One of the key outcomes that we demand from an analytics team is that they should be really scrappy and come up with stuff in a quick turnaround time. So that has also led us to build a lot of data pipelines and a lot of analysis insights, which are not which have not adopted version controlling and which are not following the best software practices as such. So I think the solution for that is that you can't slow down the pace of the business. So inciting work that ensures that there are tactical actions that are coming out needs to happen in the scrappy way. But at the same time, the formation of a data lake, the formation of a governance council that ensures that the right KPIs are being tracked needs to happen, and proper investments need to happen there. So moving on to the next slide, what I have done here is summarized the four key steps in analytics maturity. And what I have seen is that a lot of times organizations try to move from step one directly to step four. And that causes a lot of mistrust into analytics and ML AI use cases. So to summarize, in step one, it is like, you have data in different silos, there is ad hoc reporting, different functions in the organization have different views around the key KPIs, and often those key KPIs don't match, and there is a lot of confusion in the organization. Then the second step, which is the most important one and which is not very glamorous and people don't talk about it a lot, is forming the right data lake and the right data model on which our analytics team and our data scientists will operate and create use cases for the organization. Extra amount of effort and intelligence needs to go here, because if this layer is wrong, then you can't do a lot of analytical decision making and real-time decisioning later on. And once you have a good consolidated information visibility layer, the next step is around analytical decision making and real-time decisioning. So in real-time decisioning, mostly the machines are taking decisions, every decision is automated, and things are running on autopilot. Uh, of course, like in an organization, you can't have all the use cases going from step one to step four. that will take a lot of years. So what we suggest, or what I have seen being successful in the past, is picking use cases and then ensuring that in those use cases we adopt the maturity steps, going from step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4, and realizing the business benefits, and to run them like agile projects throughout the organizations. So, what are the fundamentals of building trust in AI ML? I think three key steps that summarizes things really well. One is like, how do you build an infrastructure for rapid information processing? Here, it is very important that you have a strong view on what are the real-time use cases that exist in the organization. What are the use cases that can be at a lag of 1 day, 2 day, or a few hours? Depending on that, the choice of infrastructure, the choice of CDM tools should be put. Again, what kind of MDM should be there on top of the source systems? Do you need to ensure that cities are consolidated into one standard format or not? The pin code to state mappings are there or not? Needs to happen in this step. Though these are like really simple things, but doing these right ensures the adoption of analytics and the trust that should be in the data. In this layer, then it is again very important to have a segregation of what the analytics and the AI ML use cases will do in real time, what they won't do in real time. And then similar kind of infrastructure bandwidth needs to support those use cases. Doing everything in real time will be very expensive, and that's not the way to go ahead. So in this step, it is very essential to sit with the business stakeholders, with the product team, and understand what are the use cases that deserves to be adopted in real time. Then the second is coming up with data collections. Again, this is like very important if you want to ensure that the productivity of the analytics team is a lot, and every time they don't need to hit the raw tables, because that will have a cost impact as well. So how, in a very intelligent way, meeting all these stakeholders, understanding the business, can you come up with 7 to 8 tables that can address 80 to 90% of the use cases around reporting, dashboarding, quick analysis in the firm? So this is about creating aggregates over your raw data, which can be accessed really fast by your BI teams. Again, like here also you need to be very concise about things and take a call on what tables will refresh in real time, what tables will refresh at what lag periods, and communicate it to the business stakeholders. One thing that I have noticed is that there are certain metrics that are same in real time and at a lag. For example, how many users are adding something to their cart. It will be the same if we report in real time or with a 1 day lag. But there are certain other metrics, for example, the RTO percentages or the delivery percentages, they mature as we pull data during the day. And again, like there can be other metrics like your GM percentages. In real time, you might be making some assumptions around inventory model or taking an average cost, whereas when you have a lag, you might be following a FIFO model. So the GM percentage might vary in real-time reports versus lag reports. So establishing this in a very clear and transparent way to the business functions is very important, so that they understand if two metrics are not matching in real time and lag, is it by design or is it a mistake? Most of the times, what I have found is that these are things by design and there are logical answers, but the teams are just not aware of it. The way to make them aware is to have a wiki kind of a page or certain dictionaries available which someone can go and look up to or can be pointed at. One more thing that has helped us increase the trust in our analytics and AI assets over time is having analytics office hours. So people who have any doubts or any constraints, they can come and ask their questions in those office hours, and we in a very transparent way explain to them uh, what are the existing problems in the infrastructure, what is helping us come out of the woods, and what is working well. And then the third portion is around having the right data science infrastructure. Here again, having the right KPI or governance matrix is very important. I think we have progressed really well in terms of using the right kind of libraries. Everyone knows that, in most of the scenarios, XGBoost is the algorithm that gives us the best uplift for a lot of known use cases. So I think as far as utilizing ML algorithms goes, we have done a good job. But as far as what are the metrics that should be used to uh, dictate how those models are performing, and doing a real-time visibility around performance is not something which we have done in a really nice manner. So to put things more in context, most of the metrics that we track right now talk about the accuracy of the models. For example, how many right classes are we able to predict? But uh, the matrix that talk about confidence of those models is still not mature. So maybe we now want to move towards a direction in which we are designing our matrix in such a way that a model that with a high degree of confidence says the right thing, or with a high degree of confidence says that some outcome is not possible, should be rewarded higher than a model which has an average or a lower confidence level for the same outcome metric. Similarly, if a model is predicting something which is incorrect with a high degree of confidence, should be penalized more than a model with which predicts something is being wrong with a low level of confidence. So having those metrics will also ensure that we are using the right kind of algorithms that are consistent over time. Uh, so, in our ecosystem, what we have seen is that uh, building things in the right way, having the right KPIs and metrics like population stability index, something that tells when there is a need to refresh the model or to change the model is really important. And we have seen that now with the COVID era, the behavior of folks keep on changing, behavior of the users on the platform keeps on changing. So it becomes paramount to ensure that we have these matrix orchestrated, which tells us that when the inherent behavior of the users has changed, so that we can adopt our algorithms in a likewise manner. Then the kind of analytics challenges that we have seen in the past that hampers the trust is limited or siloed data discoveries, ungoverned and unknown data environments with underperforming systems. So I can't exaggerate the extent to which this causes a lot of mistrust in the system. So having multiple sources of the same matrix can be an example of this. Having systems where data is there but pulling the data takes a lot of time can be an example of this. Then the third one is like having a siloed analytical structure in which different pockets of the firm have analytics teams, but there is no centralized analytics structure. So what I've seen is that a federated analytics structure in the absence of a centralized analytics structure creates adoption issues and harms the organization more than it benefits it. And then the last one is like slow deployment of the new insights to business. Though there are a lot of new insights that come up, but they are not being adopted by the business users. Again, the only answer of this is to have systems that can do automated decisioning, and a lot of decisioning should be passed on to the in a self-serve mode or in an autonomous way, instead of people trying to communicate that there's the insight and then someone manually changing something in the system. So these are the challenges that I have seen in the past that account for 80 to 90% of the mistrust that happens. And of course, the ideal state is that there is universal data access, of course, with like the right kind of controls and role accesses in place. Data is trusted across the organization. Analytics is everywhere and doesn't exist with one function or the other function. And then most of the decisioning is integrated with the production systems and the algorithms are running in a live manner. So, what is the governance structure that, to my mind, has ensured, in the organizations that I have worked so far, that AI and ML practices are, fully orchestrated in the organization, and we have driven adoption. One is like ensuring that the data quality is a team's objective. Uh, there shouldn't be one or two people or one particular team that is responsible for data quality. Instead, it is a objective of the entire firm, and everyone in the firm is responsible for data quality. Then the second one that has helped a lot is setting up measurable objectives around the analytics teams and what should their key results be in terms of driving data governance, and then how do you ensure that that trickles down to individual team members. Then driving the culture in terms of breaking down results by input matrix and then having a weekly kind of a cadence with the team has helped. Then quarterly OKR grading across the organization, making presentations with the organization and being very transparent on things that did not work well, or the data points that are not orchestrated or instrumented in a right way helps a lot, so that the organization knows which part of data is sane and what data is not correct or robust according to the analytics teams and shouldn't be picked up. And then the last part, which is again to do a lot with the culture, is how do you do a blameless post-mortem analysis of things that go bad. So like these are really generalistic stuff and can apply to any of the scenarios, but needs to happen in ensuring the right adoption of analytics and AI. Again, if there is a lot of blame fixing around incorrect data or wrong data, then I have seen that it delays the teams correcting the root cause, which is mostly to do with some kind of instrumentation or some kind of assumptions around the data model. So, blameless postmortem is really important. And in the past, I have been lucky to get a lot of help from my senior executives, and it has been a top-down thing in which the executives say that they'll only trust numbers that come from the analytics unit, and everyone else needs to align on those numbers before the meeting, so that stepping into the meeting there is no confusion about data points and there is single source of truth in the teams. Similarly, for AI and ML algorithms also, what we have done is we have built a bunch of matrix that tells if things are happening in the right way or not, or if the model needs some changes to be done around the confidence of the model and accuracy of the model. So if a business stakeholder comes saying that some predicted outcome is not looking right, we can say that these are the metrics that are showing that the model is performing. And of course there is an understanding that no model is 100% accurate, but what should be there is that a model should be consistent. So framing the right kind of KPIs to ensure that happens. Now, organizations that are, in the initial journey, I have this four-step framework for them in place so that they ramp up in the right way on their analytics journey. I think speed is of essence, but if some of the groundwork is done in a really incorrect manner, then the right ROI won't be realized on the analytics assets. And far too many times I have seen in my career that those investments go for a waste 2 3 years down the road, and then there is a new team that is again doing things from scratch. So to avoid your investments going for a waste, I think what is really important is to align on the infrastructure needs, draw out a clear map of data acquisition processes, what are the constraints or limitations of a system, and ensure that everything is tabulated and documented. So what I mean by limitations or constraints is that in certain systems it might not be possible to have day on day data around certain snapshots. So for example, someone in the team can say that a lot of data around inventory shouldn't be maintained at a hourly snapshot because that is not useful, and then we say that we are drawing an abstract layer which will have a midnight snapshot or will have even more infrequent snapshots depending on the need of the business. But all these things should be like clearly laid out in the start of the process. What will be real-time orchestrations, what will be the orchestrations that will be at a lag. Then data readiness and collection creation should be like of paramount importance. Again, all the MDM processes, data treatments, data rules should be built into this layer. And then what are the data aggregates that we'll build so that our teams can use it with a high degree of confidence, and reading any data from these collections should be really quick and simple. You can design a table from which to read data or to draw some insights is really tough because it is not structured in a right way with having the data model in place so that the teams can write really simple queries to do complex analysis. Then the third part is that how do you build visualizations and anomaly detection systems so that most of the workload which can be automated is automated, and that shifts away a lot of uh, pressure from your analytics team to do manual activities and repetitive activities. So this is again like of paramount importance, identifying the top 10 12 questions that caters to 70 80% of the orgs requirements around data analytics and the kind of questions that are asked in the meeting. So if we can automate these standard views, it helps a lot. And then the fourth one is doing advanced modeling and ensuring how can we use predictive analytics and a lot of ML/AI algorithms and orchestrate those in real time using software best practices. So going in a sequential manner from step 1, 2, 3, 4 is very important. But what is not really critical is doing this for all the use cases at once. You can break down your use cases and pick 1 or 2 use cases to go in a really sequential fashion. Thanks everyone for joining me today and taking out the time. I have tried to synthesize my learnings over the last 10, 11 years into the analytics space to help you achieve the highest ROI on your analytics investments and to build trust into analytics and AI systems.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.